There. Welcome. We're going to get some painting on these Malign Sorcery Battle Magic Endless Spells. We're going to go outside. We're going to spray them little Krylon white. Go from there. Okay, now that we're back inside and these have dried, we're going to focus on the Geminids of Uhl-Gysh first, or however it's pronounced. So one's supposed to be dark, one's supposed to be light. So I got my trusty wet palette out. And I think, and we got a little wet brush here. Now, these are just going to be quick, dirty, get them on the tabletop. We're not winning any golden demons, any crystal brush, nothing like that. So I got just, my standard brush here I'm going to use. And I think we're going to go with this one for the dark one. All right. So I have some black paint. Let's get some Abaddon black. This is being thinned. A little bit of Flow Aid. A bit of Labian medium. I'm just going to paint around all these raised, what almost look like energy veins all over. Now again, normally what I would suggest is using a bigger brush than what you think you actually need. But for this, I want to make sure that I have good control. And we just paint through the entire surface. And while we're at it, we drop the camera. Let's see if we can get that set up again. All right, how's that? All right, good. Little camera drop there. I'd love to start over again, but paint's already on the model, so we're just gonna go with it. There we go. Get on all the cracks and details. Now you don't have to be super precise. I mean, it's nice to, be as precise as you can, but it's not the end of the world if the paint goes over. So we're gonna do some dry brushing over this afterwards. Let's see. Get as deep in those cracks as you can. Almost want a little bit more water mixed with this Flow Aid. Just so it can really spread out. Make sure I push it right up to the edge. Each of those. There we go. I turn the model quite often. Normally I would also have this on a paint handle, but I fear that would end up getting in the way of the shot every time I go to turn this around. Am I in camera here? Underneath again. Now painting this black will be one of the longest processes. Now you could go with like a dark blue, a dark purple, a red. It's supposed to be an energy ball though, so I'm going with black just so it'll be a big distinction between the positive one and the negative. As that matters in the spell. Okay. And we'll just keep working our way around. Take your time. Turn them all around if you need to get all the different angles. There we go. Now this is my first painting video. I've been doing a lot of unboxing, a lot of put-togethers in my live shows. A friend of mine that has a channel, Canadian Retro, he's like, hey, when are we going to get to see you paint these models? So here we go. This one's for you, bud. All right, this is going quite smooth. Always good to be able to brace your hands against something. I brace it, usually you can see there, against my other hand. Helps quite a bit. A little bit of muscle memory involved as well too. Helps when you paint every day. If you have a little bit of patience. See, I just use the flat of the brush to push it into those spaces. Excellent. There you go. Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and finish off painting this. And then I'll be back. So there we go. There it is. So that's all got the black on it. So we're going to let that dry. And then we'll come back and do some highlighting of it before we add the washes. Okay. Okay, we're back. This is now dried. Going to do a couple highlights with Lothern Blue. Now this is just to bring out all those little sparkles and that. So it's going to kind of be done like in a dry brush type. So I'm going to take, my brush is dry. Okay, it's just an old Citadel brush from early 90s or something like that. I'm going to take a little on the tip. I've got my dry brush palette here. You could use paper towel or whatnot. I like using the paper plates better than the paper towel. And if you're not sure, start on the bottom where nobody's going to see. Just drag it across, try and bring out some of those tiny veins that are on it. Now, this is a painstaking process. It takes a while, so you have to be patient. And if you find that you get too much, just go over it with like a non-oil wash. And it'll get back in and settle all those recesses, and then you might have to do another highlight again. You'll see. It's okay to bring the whole level of the black up just a bit. Just try and stay off all the white, and you'll see why. So, once again, we're just going to try and do this all quick and dirty like. If you're like me, you got a back library of models that you're not sure if you're ever going to get through. So I want, at the very least, to get all my Age of Sigmar up and running. These Eternal Spells are a fantastic kit. Very few mold lines. Extremely easy to go together. As I'm doing this, can you see that? Can you see how that's bringing all that out? It's subtle. I will give you that. It is subtle, but it will make the difference from just having it all the one color. Now, you could have really watered down, if you had started with a white base, could have really watered down that black. And it would have sank right down low. And then your edges would already be a little bit brighter. But I think what's going to happen is I'll end up going over this dry brush probably twice. Because I find the second time you go over it, it really does make everything just pop right up. You can see now I've kind of got the weight and pressure of my brush figured out by painting the underside first. Gain my confidence in my painting on it, which allows me to drag up and over, and that ends up coming out a lot faster. You see that? See how that pops out like that? Now, decided to go with the blues because of it being electricity. Now, if you pick these up for other gaming purposes, such as D&D or whatever, I was going to say this would be great for like a flaming sphere spell, but I think I'd go with that model for a flaming sphere. Anyways. You see, I'm going to hit those ones. I'm going to paint those. It's going to be with a different undercoat, a different primer, a different base color. I wanted to show you these ones coming from white and how there is a difference whether you start with a white primer, or if you start with a black or gray or brown. Again, guys, these videos are meant for those that maybe they're just not as confident in their painting skills. Just want to show them that, I mean, you don't have to be an expert. You can still get some good tabletop quality anyways. That's all this is going to be, is tabletop quality. I'm not teaching a master's class here. It's just simply getting some paint on the models. Okay, now you can see I'm starting to go over them for a second time, which is really going to start bringing out all them energy veins. Really going to start making them pop. Again, just nice and light with that brush. You are going to want to use an old brush for this because it still does splay all those bristles out quite a bit. And you can reshape brushes as long as you don't let them go too far, but you don't want to be doing it with your fine detail, even though it does have to be a smaller brush. So I suggest in your toolbox you have of painting supplies, you do end up keeping some of the smaller brushes to use as dry brush. I have lots of dry brushes. I have lots of really beat up ones too that still get their fair share of use. Okay, well, I think let's hit that ridge one more time. I want to get this side just a little bit brighter. Just a little bit brighter. There it comes. Oh, got a little bit on the white there. That's okay. All right. And I think that's good enough for all those veins. And this one, we're going to leave white. You'll see why. It's supposed to be a nice glow to it. You'll see why. We'll get into that one after. We're just going to finish off this one. Okay, so there you go. Make sure it's all closed all the way around. That brush, good wash. Now we're going to get that wet on purpose. Keep that brush wet. See there, all the paint. Okay. Okay. Oops. Seems like we're losing the shading. Be right back. Now that's all dried. I'm going to switch over to doing like a glazing on this. So I'm going to take some Guilliman Blue glaze, and I mixed it about 5-to-1 Guilliman Blue, and some Liquitex Floaid, because I want to kind of turn it from a glaze to almost like a wash. We're going to highlight afterwards, but it's really important to me to thin it out. Anyway, so let's take a look at how we're doing. Now you just want to take a small brush for this. You can see how light that blue actually is on there. Since we did all the black first, not really even a big deal. If it spills over, you know, do what you can to keep it on the white, but you want to make sure that you do cover all of the white. Try and get all the same areas at once too, so you don't end up with your paint will like cause ridges over top of each other. We'll get all this all at once. Now you can see it's still going on like a glaze. It is tinting the white, which is good. That's what we're wanting. But we're also not wanting it quite as thick as the other. And that Floaid really helps it run off the high ridges, which in all actuality, once this dries, you could just leave it as at this. You don't even have to necessarily go back and do all your highlighting. But we'll see how this turns out exactly, and then go from there. All right, just a quick wash over everything. These lower parts you could really do with a bigger brush, but I have this one in hand. Again, just make sure that goes everywhere, since that was painted black. Not as crucial to make sure you don't slop. On the other one, you have to be have a little bit more finesse. Again, you do want this to pool up in some areas. In the deepest recesses, as you do with most washes. And if it pools up a little bit too much in certain areas, once you've used up the paint, you just can go back and, you know, give a little dab here and there. It will suck it back into the bristles, mopping it up as it were. Now, I really, really like the glazing of models. It's a great way to paint. It's a very fast way to work through all your models. You get a base coat of something fairly light, glaze over top of it, hit with some highlights, possibly go back with some washes. It's all about tricking the eye, right? All about tricking the eye into believing what it's seeing, you know? See there, sometimes it hits a little bit bluer in some spots, so we can go back. There we go. Just keep that brush moving around. You want to try and hit the whole thing while it's still wet. Don't give it time to dry before you move on from one spot to the other. Make sure you're going all the way around the model. Oh, and don't grab where it's wet. Otherwise, you'll have to do it again. Again, when you're glazing, not as big of a deal. I'm going to pull some of this away because I think I'd rather it darker around the ball itself than out at the tail. I'm going to pull some of that away. Bring it back in here. And again, we'll probably go back over this afterwards and hit it with some of the white highlights again. And where you want to hit the white highlights are like at all the junction points. Like there. Really, it's kind of like the hot spots, and the hottest spots are white. White lightning. And I do recommend going over the whole thing and not just leaving those spots white, because it will, you'll really see like the edges of where your glaze went if you just leave it. Just a nice solid coat. You can start seeing the spots that you missed. Go back in, get them while it's still wet. I'm going to show you a little trick here in a second after I get this on. Even just like this, it's looking pretty good. In fact, once you're done this glaze, as long as you did something on the base, obviously, all these will still have to be based. But this is technically table ready. It's your 3-color minimum. Right? You got your blacks, you got your light blue in there, and then you got your Gilliman blue glaze. Your Lothern blue around on the ball there. Okay, so now you just want to go do a quick check, make sure you hit everywhere, spin it upside down. Sometimes those bottom areas have a tendency to hide on you. There you go. I'm hitting the ball with like a second layer of it, just to kind of get the darkness in there. But you'll see when we do some highlights on it. Okay, well there we go. Straighten this light up here. There we go. Nice crackling energy lightning ball. And again, you see any spots that have pooled up more than what you'd like them to, hit the brush on them. I'm pretty happy with most of this. Just want to make sure. There you go. Once this dries, we'll come back and I'll show you how to do the highlights. Okay, while we're waiting on the other to dry, might as well quickly go and add the highlights to this. Now this we're going to have watered down quite a bit more. I'm going to get some Lamian medium, basically just a paint medium. You can see it's, I'm sure you all know what this is. It's a clear medium that, because water has a tendency to separate the pigments, and sometimes the pigments in the paint will actually float in the water itself. So when it dries, you kind of get like this ridge line, and we definitely don't want that. All right, there we go. Get that sealed. Okay, so got that Lamian medium all mixed in. How's that? Okay, so this is going to be a really thin, but we want it for the white one. Okay, so we're just going to start near the bottom once again till we kind of get our confidence up. Perfect. Now you notice I didn't do any dry brushing or highlighting on this one whatsoever. We're just going to really take our time and go around with this watered down, well, thinned out, I shouldn't say watered, thinned out Gilliman blue. And it'll be okay if you go over a bit, just drag that brush around. Once again, for my washes, I don't use my nicest, finest detail brushes. Reason being is because the washes, even, you wash your brushes out, but if you happen to miss a little bit of it, it'll end up going really rock hard. Especially with that medium. How do you pronounce that? Lamian medium. That's it. I don't know. The GW stuff you use for thinning your paints. A lot of people just use water. But again, when you really thin it down and you use water, it ends up... Okay, here we had a little bit of camera issue there. That's okay, we're back. I'll just finish painting this all in. And you can see I'm just going over this slowly. We'll be back and I'll show you when it's done. And there we go. So we're just going to let this dry, let the other one dry, and then I'll come back with the highlights. Beautiful. This one is all nice and dry. We're going to take some titanium white. So you get the whitest of the white, titanium white. It's an acrylic brand, not a GW brand. I'm going to do this like a dry brush / like edge highlight kind of thing. Nice flat brush. We're just going to come along and hit the edges. Make sure that glaze is good and dry though. Otherwise this will just turn into a muddled mess. Oh, I got a little bit too much on the brush there. There we go, let's work that down. There we go. We're losing our sun outside. We got some clouds moving in. That's getting everything a little bit darker, but that's okay. You'll still be able to see what I'm talking about. Now we really want to hit these intersections as I was talking. Really want to get them okay, well, camera seems to keep giving me problems. So you're going to get the gist of it here. I'm going to go around, and when you highlight these, just make sure you're just clipping the edges, not to get into that black. Anyways, I'm going to go around. I'm going to finish doing this, and I will show you the final product in just a moment. So, okay, with all the highlights done, there it is. There's your final result. Your black and your white Geminid of Uhl-Gysh. You can see there, brought up some of the white highlights. Get nice and close so you can see. And then that one you just kind of leave white. You could do like a light gray wash, maybe even a green wash. There you go, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Like, subscribe. Let's get those subscribers up. Hit 500. We have a giveaway as soon as we hit 500 subscribers. Okay, guys. And remember, just have fun with it.